Welcome to the Georgia Gentleman podcast. Today, we're doing things a little bit differently. I know most of you are tired of looking at my mug, so I am putting the camera or cameras directly on my special guest today. So we are live out here at PaBella's Winery and Vineyard in West Point, Georgia, and my special guest today is Kaleb King. Kaleb is a recording artist. He's been a Nashville recording artist. He's a singer-songwriter, and he has become a very good and close friend with myself and our family. And we've convinced him to perform out here at our vineyard quite a few times. And for whatever reason, he just keeps coming back. So Kaleb, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast today, man. Welcome. And this is actually a first for me, having a recording artist playing live and sitting down with me live on the program. So thank you.
Man, I'm happy to be here. If I'm the first one, you need to get better guests.
Well, we've set the bar kind of low, and it can only from here go higher. So Kaleb is a family man, first and foremost. He's a man of God. He is a man with strong convictions, but I think the most important thing to recognize is that he's a man of music with all of that. So, Kaleb, I think where I want to start our discussion is really talking about what got you interested in music. I mean, how young were you when you decided you wanted to pick up a guitar and start playing?
I don't remember the exact age, but I know I was young. I want to say I was like 9 or 10 that age. And my mom and dad, for Christmas, they brought I had a guitar sitting on the fireplace there. I was like, man, this is awesome. I'll never forget it. There was 2 CDs in there. There was the Garth Brooks, I guess it's the No Fences record.
No Fences.
And then there was the Blue Clear Sky record by George Strait. And that kind of molded the music that I enjoyed. And from there, I didn't really learn how to play the guitar until my parents, they actually got divorced, unfortunately. But my dad remarried, and so my stepbrother's dad, he plays guitar. And we were at his house one day, so he picked up the guitar, and he showed me one little lick on the guitar, and ever since then, like I've been doing it. I haven't put it down. Every day I pick up the guitar.
That's awesome. So there's a lot of folks that watch our podcast from around the world, from across the country, and some may or may not be interested in country music. There's always a lot of memes, a lot of jokes about country music. What do you get when you play a country song backwards, right? You get your truck back, your dog back, your wife back, your life back.
Okay.
But I really, for me, this is an important podcast because, while you made a name for yourself, I really believe that you've just scratched the surface with your music. You're still a young guy. You're, as I said, a family man. But what was interesting for me is, and I should have had you on the Georgia Gentleman podcast first, but you offered up a guest who I just couldn't refuse by the name of Randy Couture. And Randy Couture. And we had a great podcast. We had a lot of laughs. We got to talk about you. And after we put all the jokes and all the pleasantries aside, and we got into talking about Kaleb King, it was so profound because Randy really said, what is it going to take to get this guy noticed? What's it going to take to get him over the top and get him to where he needs to be? And I guess that's the question I would pose to you, because we've had some conversations, right, about, not wanting to sign with a record label, not wanting to be tied to the man, but to really kind of, create your own destiny. So with all that said, what's it going to take to get Kaleb King over the top, over the hump?
If I knew, I would tell you, but I don't know. This it's kind of funny you said that I'm still a young man, which I guess in some ways I am. But musically, I'm kind of an old man. Scratch the surface from the older terms, I guess. But it's funny. It's 10 years to the bottom is what they say.
10 years to the bottom. I've heard that.
This is my 10th year. So maybe I can get at the bottom.
Well, let's see what happens, because I have a feeling today, the stream that we put you out on is on multiple platforms. You're going to be on the Spotify platform, which is, where my podcasts are housed. And as I said, we get hundreds of thousands of downloads a month. We've had millions of viewers since we started. I'm really hoping that this is going to be a podcast where we can look back, a few months, a few years from now, and say, that's what put you over the top, and you can say to Randy, I'm over the top, my friend. All right.
Maybe I'll have my own chair. That's the goal. Right?
That's always the goal. Lofty goals is what they say we need. So being a songwriter is, and I consider myself to be kind of a creative person, not musically, but with the ability to create content, with the ability to create some marketing and things of that nature. But what does it take to be a songwriter?
Anybody can do it. You can be a songwriter today. We can sit down and we can talk about something you've had going in your life. It's a hard thing to do. Some people they do it with such ease, and with me, I like to cover. I can write songs by myself. I think co-writing is one of my favorite things to do, because you're vulnerable with different people, and you're just come up with an idea together. So that's to be a songwriter, man.
Is it true? Because I've heard this from a lot of recording artists. Is it true that some of the best songs are the ones written in the shortest amount of time?
For sure. Yeah. I've had a few that have fallen out of thin air, and just off of an idea. We couldn't get the paper to write down fast.
All right.
Some of my favorite songs like that.
So what's your favorite song that you've written?
I've got one coming out pretty soon. Called Different Time. Stepbrother.
Okay.
And we wrote it about his granddad, but he's also kind of my granddad too. And we had done a songwriting appointment earlier that morning. I had a show that night, and in between there, we just pulled over into a parking garage.
All right. Well, you've got your guitar in your hand, and I'm anxious to hear it. I'm sure all the people who are going to be watching this at some point and then listening to the podcast itself are going to be anxious to hear it. So you want to play a little bit for us? Let's do it.
Well, he was sitting there in a rocking chair that he filled with his food. A withered scar of time left a small on the wall. It's the sun going down across his lane where it's sitting there every night. Well, I can see the mirror's hands out as he talks to his mind. He said, "Oh, you don't know how good you got it made." Because I'm not he turned the dirt behind a great new. Some folks might call him old school. Let me tell you about my higher education. I got my know-how from a lost generation. From the stars to the stars to the sky. Saying I do and the your life. He said kids these days got too much say, so open mind to some good. Now let me tell you right quick, when you get your own switch, the lessons understood. If hard work could kill you, I've been on a long time ago. And he don't plant seed but you'll never see it grow. He turned 30 behind a brand new. Some folks might call it old school. Tell you about my higher education. I got to know how from the lost generation. Talk to the stars in the sky. Saying I do and the rest of your life. It was a good time. He turned a third behind a brand new. Some folks might call it old school. I can tell you about my higher education. I got to know how the lost generation worked hard to the stars in the sky. Saying I do and the rest of your life. It was It was a different time.
Man, what a great song. What a great song. So let's talk a little bit about some of those lyrics because, I heard some of them, about picking out your own switch and, talk about the inspiration behind that song.
So, like I said, it's about my stepbrother's granddad. His name's Edwin, and he was actually on a podcast with his son, and they were talking about how when Michael, his son, was coming up, about how he fired onto the fork or something, and he hit it with a fork on it, and Edwin found it, and he's like, man, hey. In the podcast, he said, man, kids these days, they just got too much say. So I remember I just did what I had to do. Back then, we
Wear them out.
We had to pick our switch and come out with a belt, whatever, And we just thought that was funny and threw that into the song. So.
You brought up report cards, and now I'm going to confess something that is absolutely horrible to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I'm turning 50 in another month and a half. And I was thinking back to my sophomore year of high school where I kind of just was so wrapped up in playing baseball and football and, girls and going out and being with my friends on the weekends. And back then they used to give us a paper report card, right? Not like today where everything gets sent electronically. And you could take an eraser on a number 2 pencil, and you could, like if it was a D, I figured out how I could actually erase that little line in the middle, and then I sharpened my number 2 pencil so sharp that I was able to draw the fine line from the end of the D to make a perfect B.
Yeah.
And every quarter I was making the honor roll, at least when I went home, until my granddad and my grandmother actually figured out when they got a call from the guidance counselor saying, we may have a problem. Like, what are you talking about? He's getting all B's. And they're like, yeah, those are D's. So, I just confessed one of my wretched behavioral issues that I had as a child.
What happened? That's what
I got wore out. We didn't have switches down there. My grandfather had a belt, and it was a big belt. And I will tell you, you would think after getting tore up by my granddad back then. See, back then, parents, grandparents, they could lay a licking on a kid, and law enforcement say he probably deserved it. Today, it's a different story.
Teachers have permission to get out of the kids do that.
Oh yeah, I got paddled a few times. Listen, why am I the one being in? I got paddled by the principal a couple of times, but we won't go into the reasons why for that. But I think one of the things that I gravitated towards country music at a young age, and the reason why is because not only the melody and harmonies, but every country song tells a story. It has a meaning. And the majority of these songs, at least for real country music, right? Not this new pop age, crossover, whoever it is. But traditional country music came from the heart. It was a time in an artist's life where they were able to take a culmination of events and put words and rhythms together to be able to create what you just put out there. Brother, I got to tell you, that's a song that needs to be heard on the radio.
I appreciate it. I know you say like the traditional country, like a lot of that stuff, it did have a lot of different stories, and now today everything's gotten kind of, I hate it, and I've fallen into the trap of writing stuff, and I like some of it, but, if you think about it, some of the other people, like my generation, and the daughters and sons, we all have the trucks and the tailgates, stuff. That's stuff that we sing about, but that's also stuff that happened to us coming up. And a lot of my generation involved with like the line. So you had hip hop on one track and then traditional country, nice country, whatever it may be. So I think that's where a lot of the new age stuff comes from. Hey, that's what you're into, rock out. But
Absolutely.
I definitely lean a little bit more on the traditional side myself.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the traditional side of country music for you. Who were your biggest influences um, at a young stage coming into country music?
It's hard to think.
It is. It is. George Strait is. I truly believe he's the king of country. I grew up listening to George Strait, and you know, obviously I'm a lot older than you, as I said. So I grew up with Waylon and Willie, and Patsy Cline, and Charlie Pride, and Charlie Daniels, and just Hank Williams. So for me, when I think about country, back in the '70s and coming into the '80s, it was a very different type of music back then.
Oh, for sure. And it's cool too if you listen to the recording. I don't know if it's something that you listen to a lot, but when you go back into the old records and you listen to the stuff that's been recorded now, like the vocals, everything just sounded like it was live.
Yeah.
But they were recording, but now everything's recorded, put down to it.
It's digitally
It's
mastered.
digital master. Everything's compressed and let's make it as loud as we can, right? And what I love about the older stuff, and I've heard other artists talk about this too. It's like the older stuff, you can almost like feel the like presence and like that air. Like I say, it's real air. And that's what I love about it. Everybody was in the room together and recording at the same time. You might go in much focus later, but that's what I like about the older stuff too. It's like them really, you really feel the voice. A lot of different characters.
I got a chance to go to the Ryman. Yeah, when I was in Nashville a few years back. And it was crazy because I was staying at the Gaylord Hotel, and I happened to be wandering around, and I actually have some pictures. I don't know if I ever showed it to you, but I was wandering around, and I looked, and I'm like, no, there's no way. And there's this guy walking around, he's 6 foot something, kind of husky dude, and cowboy hat walking around, and I was like, well, it is Nashville, anything's possible. And as I get closer, I'm thinking to myself, oh, there's no way. It happened to be Garth Brooks. And, I got to spend a few minutes with him, got some pictures with him and everything. And we were talking about the experience of, the Ryman. And we were talking just about what you were talking about a moment ago, which is, how the sound of music has changed so drastically. And it was really interesting during the interview with Randy Couture. Randy said, and I'm paraphrasing, I may get it right, I may get it wrong, but Randy said, you listen to all this crap today, and it's all, tuned and it's, digitally mastered, but you listen to somebody like Kaleb, and it's a pure vocal, and it's a powerful vocal. And that's what's missing, because I remember as a kid growing up, I was listening to 8-track tapes, I was listening to cassette tape. I know you're laughing at me. And we had 45s, and we used to listen to it on the record player. If you've never listened to something on a record player or 45, go out and buy one and listen to it, because it will change your perspective on music. So, talking about George Strait, being one of your biggest influences, if not your biggest influence, was that one of the first songs you ever played? Was a George Strait song?
Maybe. I do remember one of the first songs I learned to play live was the Vern Gosling song, Set 'Em Up Together.
Okay.
But coincidentally, I found myself years later, the guys that wrote that song also wrote George Strait songs too. But George Strait, man, I know this is everybody talks about. He's the king of country music. I truly believe that. So I grew up in California. My parents, I spent most of my childhood in Woodland.
Okay.
And my dad, so it was at Baltimore County schools or go to a private school, Flint River County. And I don't remember why I didn't go to Flint River County. I didn't money or I couldn't get the time. So my mom and dad had paid out of county. So I had a 40-minute ride every day. And my mom, she also her DJ, right? So you remember the CD books with all the CDs. And
Absolutely.
yeah. So like the first 3 pages was George Strait. And so every morning, like we would start with one, and we would wear out that whichever. I don't even remember what record it was, whatever it had. I can still make shine. So that's my favorite George Strait song of all time. I apologize for not knowing the name of it.
Well, why don't you play that for us? Because to me, that is, and here's what I'll say about George Strait. He's one of the best musicians I've ever heard, but probably not one of the best actors I've ever seen.
Oh, come on, man.
Come on, pure country.
Straight to the heart.
Straight to the heart.
Yeah, come on.
All right, man. He did that movie, and one of the best songs ever came out of that, Cross My Heart. But Cheyenne is hands down one of the best George Strait songs.
It's so funny. I didn't relate to the song at all as a kid, but I related. I didn't understand it, but I don't know. I play this. It doesn't matter what kind of stage I'm on. I always throw this go, and I tell that story about it. So,
All right.
this is my. The telephone rang by 4:09. She heard his voice on the other line. She didn't know what comes this time. See, now you got me messing it up. Said don't bother coming home. By the time you get here, I'll be long gone. There's somebody new, and sure ain't no rodeo tonight. He said, I'm sorry it's coming down this. There's so much about you that I'm gonna miss. It's all right, baby. If I hurry, I can still make shine. Gotta go now, baby. If I hurry, I can still make shine. He left that phone dangling off the hook. Slowly turned around and gave it one last look. And then he just walked away. He yanked that truck toward that Wyoming line. A little luck he could get there in time. But in that Cheyenne wind, he could still hear something. She said, don't bother coming home. By the time you get here, I'll be long gone. Somebody new, and sure ain't no rodeo. He said, I'm sorry it's coming down this. There's so much about you that I'm gonna miss. It's all right, baby. If I hurry, I can still make shine. Gotta go now, baby. If I hurry, I can still make shine.
It's a great song. It is. It's a great song. So even though you're not a rodeo guy, meaning you're not riding the Bucky Bronx and riding the bulls, you spent a lot of time and a significant portion of your life living on the road, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I'd say my adult life.
Your adult life. right? And it's not an easy life. It creates, some barriers. It creates some, chaos, some noise. How did you balance, or how do you balance family life, children, marriage, your faith, family? How do you balance that with the demands of being on the road and playing so many gigs?
Well, I think first off, me living here is a big thing, and not living in Nashville anymore. And a lot of our support system is around here too. So my wife, she's a nurse, so she works. And what's great about it is, like, during the week, I'm home with the kids, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, sometimes Thursday. And during the day, like I'm able to hang out with the kids and help her get stuff done around the house. Or if she's off in the hospital, we'll spend the day together. Or, hey, she wants a nap, whatever that may be. But early on, I think it's easier to make myself uncomfortable than to make my wife and kids to make them comfortable, right? So if I have to drive through the night to get back and help her get kids ready to go to school, that's what I'll do. I'll be tired of it. There's coffee for that.
There's coffee for that. There's ways to pick yourself up. So you talked about, not being in Nashville anymore. Let's talk about, your time in Nashville. Obviously every young recording artist, at least in country music, looks at Nashville and says, that's where I've got to go, right? And I'm sure that's probably what crossed your mind. And you said, if I'm gonna make it in this business, I gotta go to Nashville. You got to Nashville, and was it everything you thought it was, or were there so many unknown variables that you just it overwhelmed you? What happened?
Well, I moved up there pretty. I just turned 21. I think I might have within a couple of weeks up there. And anyways, when I was up there, we were going back and forth already before. But with me, I didn't really treat it like a job. And that's something that if I could give any advice to anybody, treat it like a job, or even get a job when you go there, or play Broadway, whatever you got to do. People don't want to work with somebody that's not there against their rights, not showing up. So I would. That was my problem. I couldn't balance the party versus the work aspect of it. So I did a lot more party. That's why I didn't really drink that much now. It's hard to drive through the night.
Yeah, that plus something called a DUI. So it's a typical story, right? Young guy, talent galore, gets an opportunity to go to Nashville, doesn't recognize that it's a job, right? And looks at it as a 24-hour a day party, right?
Yeah.
And it takes a big man to admit that, right? Because I think what makes us who we are in life. Because I look back at myself, from when I was your age, now, when you were 21 and when I was 21, and I look at where I am now, just about to turn 50, and I recognize I ain't the same person that I was, right? And I'm grateful for that. But, leaving Nashville had to be hard, right? Right, because, at some point you look at it and you go, man, did I just flush all my dreams down the toilet, right? But you come back and you bounce back from that. And would you say that it was your faith? Was it, your spirituality? Was it your wife? What was it that got you grounded and got you, being who you are today? The Kaleb King that's sitting here in front of me.
Yeah. So believe it or not, my wife, she's someone that I'll stay with the kids. My wife now, like she's the one that got me into going back to the church. She's the one that introduced the faith and wanted me to dive back into it, really learn about it. And I made the decision to get that kind of life to Christ. my wife is the big thing. I owe everything to her for helping me figure a lot of my life out. She's the kind of person that she's not a yes man, right? So she will definitely let me know if I'm doing something stupid. So I think her, man, she's the biggest reason why I do what I do with my kids. And my kids are really what before kids, man, I still was finding in line. Now it's like first time you hold your daughter, you're like, oh man, the life that I'm responsible for. What am I going to do? So I think that really put the fire into me. Being able to balance the work life and the music. You know,
I'm with you.
I don't know if that's the right answer that you're looking for, but
no, I'm not. Listen, there's no right or wrong answer. Listen, I'm very transparent about it. You know, I tell people all the time, behind every great man is an even better woman.
Yeah.
And you know, I've been with my wife for a very long time. You know, we went through our struggles, obviously, and you know, we took our time apart, but we recognized that being apart was not what we wanted, and that's why we rededicated ourselves to each other, and we got our marriage and our family back on track. And you know, for me, it was taking a very much needed walk with God, even though you know it wasn't in a place with four walls and a bunch of people trying to tell me how to live my life. It was me taking my walk with God. It was me, believe it or not, actually sitting and spending time with our youngest daughter, Michaela, and our son, McCord, you know, because they've always been in the Bible. They've always been into the verse. And them sitting and explaining to me why it was so important to recognize what was truly important. It wasn't about money. It wasn't about, you know, building a name or getting fame or fortune or any of that stuff. It was about building a legacy and leaving behind something when I'm gone that my family could be proud of. So, you know, you've become a big draw out here at our winery. And, you know, folks always say to us, when's Kaleb going to be there? You're getting ready to perform November 10th, if I'm not mistaken, in Alabama, not too far from where we are now, with a pretty solid lineup. And, you know, even though you're an opening act, right? I still look at you as a headliner on this thing. Right? Because, I mean, we're talking about Sammy Kershaw, you know, queen of my double wide trailer. We're talking about Randy Houser, who probably sings not my favorite all-time country song, but it's probably my second all-time favorite country song.
what is it?
Like a Cowboy. So I heard you play that song out here. It may have been, last time you were here or the time before, but it was a song that as I was sitting and listening to it, it reminded me of my life being a 2 million miler on Delta, Diamond every year, and running from city to city and coming home and do I have enough time? But that song I know also strikes a chord with you, right? Okay. And I'm not trying to get you choked up or nothing here, man. I tell people I kind of feel like Oprah Winfrey sometimes with people sitting on my couch because I've had a couple of interviews with everybody gets a car. Oh, you got a hoodie today. But you know, I know that song means a lot to you, and there's a lot of folks that may not have ever heard that song, Like a Cowboy by Randy Houser. But I think it would resonate with a lot of folks who've never heard that song if you were willing to play that for us.
You're going to put me on the spot again.
You're sitting with a guitar on your lap, man. All right, so let me just set this up because there was a video that came about from this, and it's a very long video, and it's actually kind of cool to watch him, Randy act in the video and kind of, bring it to life. But for me, the words of this song hit really hard, and they have for a long time. And the first time I heard Kaleb play the song, it kind of stirred up a lot of emotions for me. And I talked to, we talked a little bit about it when you were out here the time before, previously, and, you said it was one of your favorite songs of all time. So I want to introduce the song to the people who are tuning in and listening right now around the country and around the world who've never heard this song before. And let's see if it resonates with y'all as well.
I'm going to apologize because I messed this up.
Oh, come on. You got this.
There's a story that I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Every time I fall, get back to you. Cinch my saddle, find you. Let it take me where it wants to go. Another one goes through, another thing I know this life is crazy, but I'll be home soon, baby. I'll ride in on a sunny day, sing you a song, steer all the way like a cowboy. Hang my hat like an deer for a while, kick off my boots and drive you wild like a cowboy. Baby, you know I can't stay long. Wait till I'll be gone. Until then, I'll hold on.
Such an incredible song, and it's such a powerful song. And I know that when folks get a chance to really sit down and listen to it, if they listen to the Randy Houser version as well, it's going to make you pause and it's going to make you reflect on your life. And it's going to make you kind of really think and put things into perspective about, where you're at in your walk and where you are in your life. But I know the song has a meaning to you, so let's talk about that for a little bit.
Kind of what you said. It's all different. It doesn't matter. I think the way I take it is you're just like a cowboy when you go out and go cowboy, be gone. And I'm not saying that I'm gone all the time, but I remember when I was when Whitney, my middle, I've got a stepdaughter, but Whitney, when she was like 8, 9 months old, I picked up my guitar case, walking around the house, and she said, "Bye," something like that. And I was just, oh my God, like that hit me, man. Like I might even play that song after that. Like it just hit me in a different way. And I've always loved Randy Houser. I've always been a huge fan. I'll tell you a little bit about that.
Yeah.
But this song, man, even with family, you're home missing anybody. I think it's this is what we do. This midnight gloom runs in my blood. I can't give it up. It just strikes a chord with me. That's should be tattooed on me somewhere. I feel like I love that song. I could sit here all day.
Absolutely.
Man, it's funny when I was 16 years old. I was still playing music, but I wasn't playing it for money or playing for people. I was playing for it. And one of our local radio stations used to be like caller number 9, and you win tickets for a CD or whatever. Well, first time I ever won it. And I was calling him. I was like, "Oh, yeah, kissing."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Hey, so you won tickets to the James Johnson concert?" And Randy Houser was there, and he had me Randy Houser CD. And I remember putting that CD in my truck and just thinking, "Oh my gosh, it was the Anything Goes record." And listening to Food Song, Anything Goes all songs. And I knew then after hearing that, that's what I wanted. And then I watched him and Jamie. That's what I man, that's how I became such it was kind of a fluke of how I became a Randy Houser fan.
Well, you're on the road now, man, and I'm expecting big things from you. I know we all are out here. We're huge fans. We've got your back. We're on your side. Let me ask you, if you had a chance to go back to Nashville again, would you?
No. It's funny, man, because I'm up there not at the present moment, but when I'm really like a lot, I try to get there every other month, but when I'm really going, I'm up there every 2 or 3 weeks. Like I've got it's almost like the office. I can get up there and get out. I don't have to live there. I don't have the temptations. I want to go out and party and drink, whatever it may be. So I'm in and out and back home with my family.
And that's right where you belong. All right, listen, I'm looking outside and I'm seeing the deck starting to fill up, and I know we're getting a bunch of people that are starting to get antsy about hearing Kaleb King, because that's why you were brought here today. So for those of you that are tuning in and hanging out with us for a little while, my special guest today was Kaleb King, recording artist, singer-songwriter, an all-around great guy, and I'm proud to say somebody who's become a very good friend to me and to our family. I hope that y'all will follow him on Spotify, on iTunes. Where all can people find your music?
So you can, there's a link to all that. You can go on my website, KalebKingMusic.com, and I'll take you on the socials. Anything you want to know about me, you can get it.
All right. And don't forget, he's going to be opening up for Sammy Kershaw and Randy Houser on November 10th down in
They say Lafayette. So.
Lafayette, Alabama, not too far from where we are. All right, y'all, that's going to do it for this episode of the Georgia Gentleman. I want to thank again my very special guest, Mr. Kaleb King, for being on today. If you're here in the Columbus, LaGrange, West Point, Marietta, Atlanta area, come on down, spend some time with us here on the deck today. We got a great afternoon of music, food, and just great times. So we'll be back later this coming week with an incredible special guest, Mr. Ryan Bliss of the Seattle Mariners Major League Baseball team. I'm really excited about that one, so I hope you'll join us. So until then, remember, be good to yourself, but more importantly, y'all be good to each other. Take care.